What's up, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. I'm your host, Mason Kenahan, and in today's episode, we are going to be previewing Washington's Sunday matchup against the Arizona Cardinals in Glendale, Arizona. It's going to be a fun one. The Commanders are coming off a massive win against the Cincinnati Bengals, improving to 2-1 on the year, a winning record through 3 weeks again. Another season where we're 2-1 through 3 weeks. I'm going to get into, at the beginning of the episode, I'm going to get into the injury report because there's a lot of players, actually a lot of big, significant players on this injury report for both sides, actually. And then I'm going to go dive into the offense. We're going to go into the defense. And then I'm going to wrap this up, of course, giving my final score prediction and some other notes and stuff. So let's just jump right into it, starting with the injury report for both sides, because we're at the point in the season where things are starting to pile up for some teams. And for both of these teams, it hasn't gotten extremely bad yet, but there are some key starters out for both sides. We'll start with Washington. No Austin Eckler. We've kind of seen this one coming ever since Monday night. Eckler left Monday night's game against the Bengals with a concussion. He was ruled out of the game with the concussion, could not clear protocol. And then he did not, those reports that same night that he did not fly with the team to Arizona, because I do want to mention, I'll get into more of it later, but the team is in Arizona this entire week, which is pretty interesting. But Eckler did not travel with the team to Arizona for practice this week. He flew right to DC and is now getting checked out in Washington. So no Austin Eckler for this week. Kind of a big, not necessarily a massive loss. I'll get more into it with the offense, but definitely going to make an impact with how this offense is kind of played throughout the game. Clelin Ferrell is also out for Sunday's matchup against the Cardinals. I believe this is his second straight game out, maybe third in a row. I know it's definitely second because he did not play in Cincinnati either. So Ferrell is out for Washington. You're going to need guys like Jamin Davis and Andre Jones to perform better on the outside at edge rusher. I posted a cut-up of Jamin Davis earlier this week, a couple days ago. And just watching through the tape from both of them, they didn't really bring that much in the pass rush game. So still kind of a big loss. I mean, this is Clelin Ferrell, what was going to be our starter on the across from Dorrance Armstrong at the beginning of the year. He's been out now for half the season up to this point. So no Clelin Ferrell again, but I mean, this defense is so bad already. I don't even think adding him would improve it. He's not going to be the reason why, or not having him won't be the reason why if we lose on Sunday against Arizona. So both those guys out for Washington, but both of them should be back next week against the Cleveland Browns. That's kind of the goal. Dan Quinn said it. Both of them didn't want to push either of them. Eckler would have been out anyways because he hasn't cleared concussion protocol. But Ferrell, there was a chance he could have been back this week, but he is out. How about Emmanuel Forbes now? Forbes will be back for Washington after missing the last 3 games. He played in the opener, and then last 2 games. He played in the opener, and he missed the game against New York, and he missed the game against Cincinnati with his, I believe, broken thumb. He had surgery for it. So Forbes will be back on Sunday. Now, I don't really care if he's back or not. Once more, I don't think his impact is going to impact the game to a point where if we win or lose because of his play. This defense is so bad already. I mean, I guess it's good having him back because at least it's someone else. So Emmanuel Forbes will be back in the lineup, most likely starting across from Benjamin St-Juste on Sunday. For Arizona now, they have 2 big injuries. They have some other players out, 2 more backups or depth pieces, but there's really 2 I want to go over. The first one being tight end Trey McBride. This is massive for Arizona. McBride was announced as out on Friday, I believe today or maybe yesterday. But McBride is the team's second leading receiver this season, and he missed, I believe, maybe he missed last week too, I want to say. Not entirely sure on that. But I know McBride will be out on Sunday, which is big for this Commanders defense. It's going to be a weapon that Kyler Murray won't have during the game. And for a defense that is historically now one of the worst defenses through the first 3 weeks ever, that is great. It's great news for Washington because that's one less weapon you're going to have to cover, really, with one of your linebackers. So good news for Washington. Unfortunate news for Trey McBride and the Arizona Cardinals, though. Another guy, Justin Jones, will be missing his second straight game. The defensive tackle for the Cardinals. He's kind of been out for a while now for Arizona, and he's going to be missing. He's going to be missing on Sunday. Similar situation now to the Bengals. The Bengals were missing B.J. Hill, and I believe Sheldon Rankins, I want to say, was the other defensive tackle there. Could be wrong, but I know they were missing B.J. Hill. So Washington ran all over them. I mean, it wasn't. It helped with the run game. The run game didn't really succeed as much in Cincinnati, but it helped with the run game, helped open up the pass. So, yeah, missing the 2 defensive tackles was pretty big for Cincinnati, and now Arizona will be missing Justin Jones, their starting defensive tackle as well. So that's some big news, and especially for a team that likes to run the ball a lot. And I mean, beyond last week, through the first 2 weeks, a team that ran the ball some of the most in the NFL. Yeah. So good news. Good news for Washington. Unfortunate news again for Justin Jones. Hopefully he recovers and is back next week. Moving on now to the keys to win on offense. This offense, all right, I talked about it all last episode, is crazy right now. This is one of the best offenses I've seen in Washington over a span of 3 weeks ever, really. Jayden Daniels and this offense with Kliff Kingsbury's play calling, second in EPA per play, first in EPA per rush, third in EPA per dropback. This is like I don't remember the last time Washington's offense was putting up numbers like this. So good start for Kliff Kingsbury and this Washington offense. Do I expect it to kind of come back down a little bit this week against Arizona? It's tough to say. I don't really think it will. Again, Kliff is one of the best play callers at the beginning of the season, and I'm probably going to give it until like around week 6, week 7. If we get into week 8 and like past the trade deadline and this offense is still rolling, then that's going to be something to bring up. But I mean, I still think the offense is great. I don't really see why this team can't put up 20 plus points again this week against Arizona. I know 20 points is kind of like the margin where this offense last season really struggled and could not score 20 points, and the season before that really too. But now you put up 38 last week against Cincinnati. You put up 20 plus the week before, even just by scoring field goals. Like this offense has not punted since week 1. So this offense is on a roll right now, and they're not going up against a great defense. The defense that ranks pretty low in pretty much every single category for Arizona. They're kind of middle of the pack in all of the EPA metrics, but they allow the 5th longest time to throw for Jayden Daniels. Daniels has gotten the ball out quickly so far this season. He has the quickest time to throw at 2.43 seconds, but that's also kind of just how the offense is made and how the offense is kind of called by Kliff Kingsbury. Is Jayden Daniels is throwing the ball out fast to screens, RPOs, all that, and Arizona is kind of, I mean, they just can't get any pressure on the opposing team's quarterback so far. So, which is good for Jayden Daniels. Daniels has one of the highest sack rates in the entire league out of any quarterback right now. But Arizona can't really get to the quarterback, which is interesting. I mean, it takes a lot of time for them. They do get to the quarterback. Arizona's defense has the 6th highest sack rate in the league, but it takes a while. So that means quarterbacks are holding onto the ball a lot. The secondary is doing well. I mean, I have confidence in Jayden Daniels. My confidence in him right now is higher than it's ever been. So I don't really see it to be an issue for this offense with the sacks and all of that, especially with missing Justin Jones if you're Arizona. So I don't really see it to be an issue. I mean, Arizona's 27th in pressure rate, 25th in blitz rate. So they don't blitz a lot and they don't get a lot of pressure. They kind of just sit everyone back, and hopefully their secondary and the linebackers kind of can make up for it. So yeah, I mean, I don't really see an issue here for this Washington offense to really struggle. I see another week where this Washington offense is going to put up a lot of points again. So that's, I mean, a little sneak peek into my final score prediction later. But yeah, I think this Washington offense puts up a lot of points on Sunday once more. I don't see a reason why they really struggle, just because they match up well against this Arizona defense. And I mean, Washington's offense, one of the best in the league right now. Arizona's defense, one of the worst in the league right now. That's just kind of how it is. So yeah, that's Arizona's defense and Washington's offense. One more thing, 52.1% of the time, Arizona is lined up in a light box, which is 6 or fewer. Washington has seen a light box on over 60% of their runs so far this season. That means that teams are kind of not really loading up the box. They're kind of daring Washington to run. And the Commanders have done a very good job so far of running the football. Like I mentioned, they are first in EPA per rush, the most efficient team rushing the ball in the entire league right now. And I mean, Arizona is another team that is going to let them have that light box, and they're going to have guys in secondary playing a lot of nickel, play a lot of dime with not a lot of guys in the box. If Washington lines up out wide, you got 4 receivers out wide, kind of spread out Arizona, you can run it right down the middle, and it'll work. It'll work with Brian Robinson. So that's also why I don't see the Austin Eckler missing this game as a real issue. I know Eckler had that explosive kickoff return to start the second half last week. Plus, Eckler had a few nice runs as well. Had the touchdown run. So yes, it is going to there will be an impact with this offense. I don't expect it to be a major impact. I don't see this off. If this offense really struggles, I don't see it because they're missing a guy like Austin Eckler. I would see it because they're probably either the offensive line isn't doing great against a younger Arizona pass rush. It was actually getting to the quarterback for the first time this season, or Jayden Daniels is making some questionable decisions, putting the ball in harm's way, and like we're just getting some very bad turnovers. That's how I see this offense struggling. Which again, Daniels has not turned the ball over yet this season. Fingers crossed on that. But Daniels has not turned the ball over this season, and I mean, this offense has been one of the best through the first 3 weeks. So I have high hopes for this offense. I think this offense is going to have a lot of success against Arizona, both in the run and the pass. This Arizona defense again is not good. It is not good. I'd be shocked. I would be shocked if Washington scores less than 20 points on Sunday. So that's what I'm going to say with that. Moving on now to the defense. Keys to win for Washington's defense. So I talked about the offense being one of the best units in the entire league right now. The defense is the worst unit in the entire league right now. I don't think it's close. It's the worst defense in the league, and any metric really you want to look at, this Washington defense is ranked 31st or 32nd, especially that passing defense. 4th worst passing defense in the first 3 weeks of the season since 2018. EPA metrics kind of came out around 2018. So that's why it only goes that far back. But 4th worst in the last 7 years is bad. That is very bad through the first 3 weeks. So don't really know. I think it's more of I was asked this question on Rio Robinson's Rambling with Rio podcast earlier this week. If you want to listen to that, I think it's on his channel. I believe that's Rambling with Rio. But he asked me this question, and it was, do I think Washington's defensive struggles is more towards the coaching staff or more towards the talent on this defense? And I answered that it's the talent on this defense. I really think it's this defense, the talent on it is bad. It's not good. We're starting Benjamin St. Juste as cornerback 1. He'd be a low-end cornerback 2, like very low-end. Probably one of the worst cornerback 2s on a lot of other teams. So, like, we're starting him as our best corner, our second best corner right now. We had Mikey Sanders still lining up on the outside just because you had to. Even though he's not great when he's lined up on the outside corner, you had to because you had no one else. You had Michael Davis and you had Noah Igbenogany. That's just not going to cut it in this league. When you're going up against guys like Jamar Chase, like CeeDee Lamb, like it's gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be a struggle for Washington's offense. So, Washington's defense here against this Arizona offense. You got Marvin Harrison at wide receiver, Michael Wilson, 2 very good receivers. Like we've seen what Harrison can do through the first 3 weeks. Michael Wilson is not someone to be underestimated. Like this is a good wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 that the Cardinals have. Now I mentioned it's big that Trey McBride is not going to be playing. Instead, it'll be Tip Raymond at tight end for the Arizona Cardinals. And then in the backfield, this team loves to run the ball. James Conner, in the backfield, Trey Benson. I feel like this defense is good. It can be good stopping the run. It was not good last week stopping the run. You had Zach Moss and Chase Brown running for 8+ yards every play. So that could be a pretty good matchup against James Conner and Trey Benson. I would expect it to be better than it was last week, but that's just me holding on to some hope there. So I would expect it to be better. It should be better. We'll have to wait and see though, because the Bengals offensive line is a lot better than the Cardinals offensive line right now. Other things, Arizona is 11th in offensive EPA per play. Kyler does not take a lot of sacks. Don't expect to sack Kyler, especially with a pass rush that is not that great, one of the worst in the league right now. And also kind of just limit the out of structure plays that Kyler makes, because again, you saw it when they were playing. It wasn't the Rams. Was it the Rams? I think it was when they were playing the Rams 2 weeks ago. I want to say when Marvin Harrison had the two big catches against the Rams and they won 41 something. Kyler was running out of the pocket. He was making plays downfield. You got to limit the out of structure creation that Kyler can do, because he's one of the best at it in the entire league. I am a big time Kyler Murray guy. He's a great quarterback, in my opinion, that easily top 10, probably top 8, top 7. I have to go through the entire list, but probably top 8, top 7. So Kyler Murray is a great quarterback. Even though he's like, again, makes the jokes about him being smaller and stuff. Again, he is good. He is good. So the defense just has to limit Kyler doing his thing, and I think they'll be fine. I expect Arizona to score a lot of points in this one as well. I expect it to be a somewhat high-scoring game again. I could see it definitely going back and forth between the two teams, just like the game against Cincinnati. Which team is going to be able to get into the end zone? Which team is going to be able to get into the end zone when they're in the red zone and not have to kick field goals? So with that being said, let's get to the final notes here. Before I get to my final score prediction, after this game, I want to mention that F.A. Obata and Jordan McGee. McGee, the 5th-round rookie, F.A. Obata, who's been on IR, been out pretty much the entire offseason. Both of them will be eligible to be activated off of injured reserve. Will it happen? I think it's definitely more likely for McGee than for Obata. Haven't really heard that many updates from either of them, but I could expect McGee back for week 5 against Cleveland. And also, just final thing here, it's a winnable game. All right. This is a very winnable game for the Washington Commanders. They are 2-1. They just beat an offense that put up 33 points against them. This team has not punted in 2 weeks. This is a very winnable game against a team that lacks talent defensively, similar to Washington, but lacks talent defensively, doesn't have a crazy wide receiver one. I mean, again, Marvin Harrison, very good wide receiver one, but beyond him, I mean, it's a good game for this defense to get a good performance. If we get a good defensive performance here, I think it could be a big confidence booster moving forward. So with that being said, my final score for this game, Commanders 25, Cardinals 23. I have Washington winning this one. Maybe it's somewhat influenced by them, pulling out a big time win against a team that hasn't won a game yet on prime time last week. But I really think that Washington can win this game against Arizona. And even though Arizona has competed against good teams so far this year, they competed against Buffalo, they blew out LA, and then I don't know who they played last week. I'm kind of blanking there, but I remember they had a close game last week. I think this is a game that Washington can win. It's going to be a team effort. This defense will have to play better than they did last week, because you're not going to win games when you're allowing 33 points from an offense. So Jonathan Gannon against Kliff Kingsbury. That'll be a fun matchup. Kliff Kingsbury's return to Arizona to play his former team and his former quarterback that he coached in Kyler Murray as well. So I'm excited for that one. But yeah, that'll do it for this preview pod for Sunday's game. The next episode will be on Monday, recapping the game, whether win or lose. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I really could see this one going up either way. It's a game, though, that Washington can win. I thought it would take a lot for them to beat the Bengals last week. It kind of did on offense. It took a lot from that offense to beat the Bengals. I think this is a more manageable game for Washington. I like their matchup on the offensive side against the Cardinals defense. Now, the Cardinals offense against the Commanders defense is going to be a little bit of a struggle, but it should be like they should not have to score 38 points to win a game this week, is what I'm saying. So 25-23, my score prediction. The Washington Commanders beat the Arizona Cardinals. Thank you guys for watching or listening to this week's episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. See you guys next one. Peace.